Well, boys, today is the same exact day because Premiere Pro is a actual primitive technology. Literally at the end of yesterday's video, well, it was supposed to be yesterday's video, but it was earlier today. Premiere Pro basically kneecapped itself at the end of the render. So essentially, I wasted 3 hours rendering out a video for you boys just for Premiere Pro to say, oops! But go ahead and cue that video up after this one. That one we talk about how Mrbeast tries his best to get other YouTubers and essentially bribe them with his influence into talking about the soggy cereal video. We talk about how messed up that is. But also, last few things here. Boys, I forgot to say this earlier, but thank you so much for 17K. We're almost to 18,000 subs, boys. Let's get there by the end of the month. But today we're talking about Oompaville's interview with Mrbeast. And I'm gonna be honest, I am sitting here thinking this man kind of just stole Mrbeast's whole flow. Because Mrbeast should have had this interview, but you know what? Mrbeast wanted someone a little less tan and a little bit more in the country. So he flew his little private jet from North Carolina to Texas to do this in-person interview with Oompaville. This interview is a little all over the place, right? They go from one thing within the first hour to literally going back to that same topic like an hour later. So I'm gonna try my best to piece this whole thing together for you guys and make sure everything is in a cohesive chunk. All right, because that's exactly what it is. Because Mrbeast will go on about something and then Caleb Oompaville will literally just drift off onto another topic, and then they'll go back to that topic that Mrbeast was just discussing like an hour or two later. So in my opinion, this interview with Oompaville wasn't that bad, right? So they started off with the whole Bible meme that I talked about yesterday in my video whenever Oompaville put out a teaser for the video. They started off with the whole Bible meme.
Firstly, would you be willing to put your hand on this Bible and swear?
Oh my gosh, you actually have a Bible?
I have 2 Bibles.
Are you being serious?
I am being serious.
Okay.
I'm swear. We're both from the South. This will be an honest video.
Oh, your laptop's blocking it.
Oh, whoops. This will be an honest video. You're a man from North Carolina. I'm from Virginia.
The Bible Belt.
The Bible Belt,
yep.
Exactly.
I know what this means.
This means it's legit.
Yes. Okay.
There we go.
I was not expecting that. Okay.
This is like legal now.
It is.
Yeah, because no one's ever lied when after putting their hand on the Bible. They just instantly caught on fire. I don't understand this part. Like I understand that it's supposed to be for all the people that believe out there. That means Mrbeast is being truthful whenever in reality, my guy, we all know you can put your hand on any piece of paper or bound leather book and be fine if you lie. But yeah, again, I do love Oompaville's videos, but in my opinion, I don't think Oompaville is the greatest person for these kind of interviews because the man wants to make sure you feel comfortable, and plus he's literally just a silly, goofy guy. Like, he's not very much too serious. Like, if Mudahar was doing this interview, that would be a completely different thing, all right? If some ordinary gamer was doing this, I actually would believe he would be doing some hard-hitting journalism. But in my opinion, like, Oompaville kind of is like a softball compared to some ordinary gamers. And this isn't even just my opinion. Even Oompaville, I'm pretty sure, was shocked that he got this Mrbeast interview. He was like, you guys, I'm not a journalist, like, at all.
Mrbeast is currently on a private jet on his way to where I live in Central Texas to have a conversation with me with the intention of addressing the controversy that he has been involved in over the last few months. And I think that it is important for me to document my intentions before embarking on this risky and difficult task. I am not Scott Pelley. I am not a hard-hitting genius investigative journalist. I'm a YouTuber with a medium-sized platform. I am currently doing journalism, to be fair, but I am goofy.
He already showed in his dog pack video, he always lets them skirt by little things, and he always tries his best to make people feel comfortable, even whenever they need to be hit with like hard questions. And Oompaville's just like, you know what, we'll just throw that question away. But, continue on with the video. So in the beginning, they glazed over the Ava Tyson part of the drama, basically just saying that a law firm basically told Mrbeast, hey man, don't respond to any of the drama. Something that, I was also saying, I should be a lawyer out here. All right, boys, I was telling Mrbeast this before he even called up the law firm.
Kind of laid out the timeline there. The Ava stuff came out, and I put out that tweet. We hired the investigators to go look into it. And part of that investigation is they recommended that I not talk about drama or really do anything online because it might influence, witnesses or any people they might interview or ex-employees. So it's a little unfortunate because I told them, okay, I'll wait till the investigation is over. And I believe that was literally like a week before the dog pack video came out. And then, truthfully, just in transparency, I've never done one of these like big investigations before. And in my head, it was going to last like 2 or 3 weeks. It ended up taking a couple months, apparently combing through all the documents and doing all the interviews and everything. It just took way longer than I thought because I've never had to bring in a top tier law firm and a former federal prosecutor and let him, do this really big thing. And so that kind of concluded a couple weeks ago when I put out the tweet of the follow-up.
Yeah.
Like, that was the day I got the conclusion of it. And I was like, okay, in transparency, I'll throw this out. So up until that point, it was, I had told Quinn Emanuel that, to protect the integrity, I wouldn't do anything or engage in any of this drama. And then after that, yeah, like you said, a lot of stuff had come out between when the investigation started and when it ended. And I was just kind of like, whoa, I don't really know how to like hit this stuff. And I made like a little response video, but that's just kind of not my style, where I just kind of like put a lot of the information that I assume we're going to talk about here out.
I can kind of sympathize with Mrbeast in this situation where it's just like, whenever he was doing the whole investigation, obviously the actual investigators don't want to, have the water muddied by Mrbeast just putting out statements. They're like, oh my God, now we gotta investigate that. Damn it. And plus, by the time it ended, it was like, I think, a few weeks to a month later. So like, Dogpack / a lot of other YouTubers just already threw up a wall of information, and Mrbeast is just like, do I pick out ones that I actually can respond to? Some of them are just blatant lies. Do I have to like go back and spend time actually finding footage for all of these? What am I supposed to do here? So I can actually sympathize with that. Whenever you start hitting people with like a wall of text, their brain just goes, no, like I can 100% sympathize with that, brother. So obviously they continue to go in on the investigation aspect of the whole drama whenever Mrbeast was, first called out by Dogpack and Rosanna Pansino.
First off, to just set the foundation, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, of course, Jimmy did an internal investigation and found himself, they didn't find any wrongdoing, which is also not true, which I assume we'll go into that more later. They did find some wrongdoing, just not in regards to like the serious Ava allegation. So that's a, false truth. And then on top of that, it wasn't an internal investigation. It was an external investigation, which was clearly laid out in the things we showed.
Yeah, a third-party investigation.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, it is a little bit of a, like, a lot of people I saw were saying like, well, you paid them. And it's like, well, yeah, top tier lawyers and federal prosecutors don't work for free, so I have to pay them.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to debunk that one. I mean, it just is what it is. But yeah, we hired Quinn Emanuel, which is one of the top law firms in the world. Like, I mean, it was very expensive, but I intentionally picked them because they have a reputation and they're not just going to destroy their entire business to be biased towards me, you know what I mean? And then it was led by a former federal prosecutor who did the whole thing. I mean, it was pretty intense. I mean, they did tons of interviews. I mean, transparently, they even like scanned my phone, dug through, like they have messages I sent to my girlfriend, and I'm like, why is this even relevant? And they're like, I mean, if you want a thorough one and you want us to like be confident in what we're saying, we need to see everything. Like they went pretty hardcore on it, which is why it ended up taking a couple of months. Because truthfully, when I started this process, I didn't realize like how intense it was. But I gave them the reins to everything, and yeah, it took longer than I thought. But I don't know. I mean, is there any like how else do I prove it besides? I mean, I think another thing that missing context people don't have is like, if they found anything illegal, they're obligated to report it to the police. Like
right.
this like that's how these things work when they do these investigations. It's not like they could be like, hey Jimmy, we found this illegal thing. We'll just sweep it under the rug.
But it's all right because you paid us.
Yeah, like so it's just in every way. I just don't think people understand. Like it's it was obviously Quinn Emanuel. That's why we paid them, and it was pretty thorough. And
yeah.
Damn, they got the pillow talk text messages between Mrbeast and his girl. I need to see those. How does Mrbeast flirt? That's what we really need to see. But yeah, I can see on both sides of the mirror that, Mrbeast is hiring a firm that's supposed to be reputable, that, obviously if they do find something illegal, they are going to report it to the police. All right, let's all be honest here. If this man was out here flying kitties around on his private jet, I'm pretty sure they will, report that to the police. But also, I could also see on the other side where it's like, if Quinn Emanuel was known for getting CEOs locked up, I don't know how much longer they'll be in business. Let's all be honest here. Let's all be honest here. The people that are approving these investigations are the ones that are like, find people that are harassing people in my business that aren't me. Just make sure it's not me. Say you investigated me, but obviously it better not be me. Because, like, imagine if Amazon had a self-internalized investigation with a third party, right? And then they were like, yo, Andy Jassy out here touching people. Andy Jassy's like, that's not what I was paying you for. Just because it's true doesn't mean I want you to dig that out. Like, let's all be honest here. The people that are being investigated know that they're probably going to be less scrutinized than, like, the regular employees. Let's all be honest here. So, I mean, like, it still stands that obviously Quentin Manuel will probably be like, yeah, we investigated Mrbeast. Obviously, if they found something suspicious, they'll be like, Mrbeast, you should probably stop doing this before we actually report you to the police. Because let's all be honest here. If the police doesn't know that he's doing something illegal, I mean, like, can they really do something about it? Let's all be honest here. If the police doesn't know, is it really illegal? If a tree falls in the forest, does that make it sound? Yes, but also, who cares? But again, like, I can also sympathize with Mrbeast. Like, how is an investigation supposed to go? Like, is he supposed to just allow random YouTubers to walk throughout the whole entire operation of Mrbeast with cameras, like, just bumbling about with their fucking cameras, being like, this is Mrbeast, please. Yo, editor, you're working on your thing. What are you doing? How do you feel about Mrbeast? Like, obviously, Mrbeast doesn't want bumbling idiots that aren't even professional to, like, walk around his business, right? So I can, like, sympathize that, yes, he had to hire a third party, but also, obviously, the third party has to get paid. So, it's not like the state is gonna pay for that. I'm like, taxpayers don't want to be like, yo, why am I funding a random investigation? I'm like, let's all be honest here. We all paying taxes out here. There's a lot of things that we're, like, wondering why we're paying it for. But still, like, obviously, the state isn't going to pay for it. Random YouTubers aren't going to pay for it either. Like, let's all be honest. You think more Pegasus is going to pay, like, $100,000, $200,000 for an investigation that says Mrbeast did nothing wrong? You think that's what more Pegasus or any of these YouTubers are going to pay for? So I can, like, sympathize with both sides. He's damned if he does, damned if he isn't. The man could have probably saved himself a couple $100,000 if he didn't do the investigation, but also if he did do the investigation, he could be like, see, guys, I didn't do anything. But also, I'm like, again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I would have just kept my money if it was me. I would have been like, man, y'all want to investigate me? Hire your own investigator. But continuing on, they get into the whole Delaware situation where Mrbeast basically says what Soggy Cereal says in his video, where Mrbeast is like, oh yeah, I just went to Best Buy and hired a random employee. I didn't know he was a SO. If I did, then obviously I wouldn't have hired him. But also, I'm pretty sure he was like 19 at the time. Let's all be honest here. We can all just sit here and be like, yo, whenever you're a YouTuber, you should know every point of business at that point. Like, the guy was 19, didn't even know he was going to be making it as the world's biggest YouTuber. I can let the man off with that, all right? I can let the man slide that he, did something dumb during, his beginning of his business. I can let that slide. If he was doing it now, just a whole crew of SOs, then we can just be like, all right, now he's doing it on purpose. Now this man got a vendetta against everyone. But obviously, I can understand, like, yo, at the time, I was young, didn't actually know the man was SO, didn't even know how to do a background check in general. I just wanted to make a video where I hired someone from Best Buy. Makes sense to me. I'm just saying, I don't have to attribute malice to somebody that was just ignorant.
I mean, we'll just get to it throughout this because I'm sure you're going to ask me the questions, but there's just a lot of disinformation that was easily proved wrong. Like, the big one that, I mean, videos with tens of millions of views collectively, claiming I called a guy Delaware because he committed a crime in Delaware. Like, that is not true. His name was just Delaware. I didn't, call him Delaware to make fun of him or anything. And, I mean, I'm sure you're gonna ask about it later, yeah. but like, there's literally, he was in a video before I hired him working at Best Buy wearing a name tag that said Delaware. And like, that was public information. And like, anyone could have saw that. And like, even during when that was like getting shared a lot a couple months ago, I even sent that to a couple of YouTubers. I was like, hey, just so you know, like, I didn't call him Delaware because of this messed up thing. Like, that was just his name, and here's proof. And I guess I probably shouldn't say the name of the creators, but like, one of them literally just said to me, like, well, it's not really cool to like you or defend you right now, so I don't really care whether or not it's true, or I don't want to take the video down because then people are going to think I'm controlled opposition. And I was like, whoa. And then also, like, that same photo, are you going to, like, throw some things on the screen for them?
Definitely.
Yeah, so throw it on the screen. That same photo, right after that second dog pack video, started to get traction on Reddit and saying like, hey, this is a lie. Jimmy didn't call him Delaware to make fun of him, committing a crime in Delaware. That's just his name. And it got taken down by the mods on r/YouTube drama.
In my personal opinion, all right, I think Mr. Beast 100% should have named the YouTubers. 100%, 100%. I don't care if he's like, oh no, I'm just a bigger YouTuber, you know, I have to be. No. They stooped down to a level where they're like, hey man, Mr. Beast likes hiring SOs. I would have been like, A, B, and C person when I gave them the truth, said I did not care. Tell us, I don't understand why you're protecting these people. I would have been out there singing like Mariah Carey as soon as November 1st comes around. Cause you already know, baby, it's about to be time. I'm about to have to sue any and everyone. Cause like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous for people to be out here saying, Mr. Beast hired SO people and he didn't care that they were SO. You know what? He laughed about them being SOs. Like, my guy, name them. Name them. Don't be like, oh no, I'm just a big YouTuber. Yeah, they aren't gonna be like that, to be that charitable when it comes down to the downfall of your channel, right? If you die tomorrow, these people will be talking about how you hired SOs within the same second of you taking your last breath. Name the people. I'm saying name them. Don't be out here being like, no, I'm too big for that. No, you're not. Name the people. I hate whenever YouTubers do this whole thing of X, Y, and Z person, not gonna name their names, did something completely abhorrent that should, you know, take them off of anyone thinking that they're a reliable source of any kind of news. I hate whenever they're doing that because that just makes everyone else like, well, I'm like, I can just throw up a little bit of dirt on the man's name and then if he messages me and clarifies it, I don't have to put it inside of a video and I can just tell him to go f off. Like, right, that's trash. That's trash behavior. We do not want to encourage that, which Mr. Beast is encouraging. But later on in the video, Mr. Beast continues talking about, you know, his whole hiring of Delaware and how he actually, you know, regrets it and how his mother was like, anyone saying that I allowed you to hire a SO is stupid. They're dumb. They're not mentally all there because his mom was probably more protective over him than any of the people at his company, seeing that his mom was, you know, head of HR and was helping him with financial stuff at the company at the time. And his mom was like, if that happened, I would have literally shut down the business that same day if I allowed you to hire an SO. Like, he actually was like sitting Mr. Beast and his mom down and telling them that, oh, Mr. Beast, I am also a registered SO, just letting you know. Right? Like, that's an actual dumb thing to think that Mr. Beast and his mother, 19-year-old Mr. Beast and his mother, would sit down with this person that Mr. Beast just hired and he would tell them, I'm also a registered SO, and his mother wouldn't be like, get out. Right? Let's all think about this. What does Mr. Beast gain from hiring this random Best Buy employee other than a brand new employee that he needs for his production? Like, what, did Delaware have the secret Krabby Patty formula to how Best Buy becomes like a multi-billion-dollar company? Like, obviously, someone like Delaware, a low-level employee at Best Buy, was not getting any of those kind of things. And also, Mr. Beast was just like, brother, I walked into Best Buy because I needed new employees and hired people there. Like, I just hired multiple employees and Delaware was one of them. It wasn't that deep, like, oh, you're a registered SO. Tell me more.
People allege that you hired a registered sex offender named Delaware. There's a big whole conspiracy with it. Why did you hire Delaware? And were you aware that he was a sex offender before you hired him? By the way, to preface this question, this is something that I think a lot of people probably feel like is really important. It is. You know, so you know that in mind. That this is one of the most important things to me. I would love to hear the full truth response from you in regard to this.
Yeah, and I'm excited to put it out there because I think what people are envisioning is completely different than what actually happened. Yes, I did hire him, but for the context around it, I hired him when I was 19, so I was a teenager, and this is kind of leans a little bit into what we were talking before. This is back when it was just a couple of my friends from high school, my mom. My videos were getting bigger. I needed more help, and so I walked in because I'm dumb. Like, I probably should have gone on some site and hired people who had production experience, but instead I walked into my local Best Buy and I just hired multiple people. Obviously, when I was a teenager, I didn't know what a background check was. And I just hired a couple people there that wanted to help me make videos. One of them was the person named Delaware. And no, I did not know he was a registered sex offender. There's a rumor that's gone around that said that he sat me and my mom down and told us. Obviously, I don't remember that happening. And when I read that tweet, the first thing I did was I called my mom and I was like, hey, this is like 7 or 8 years ago. Just put this in context. 7 or 8 years ago, not indicative of my company today, but I was like, did this happen? Because someone's claiming this happened. My mom said, I would have literally quit or honestly, probably shut the business down before I ever let my teenage son hire a registered sex offender knowingly, which I have a very protective mom. So, I mean, even if you don't believe me, you should at least believe that. I feel like it's not absurd to believe that my mom wouldn't have knowingly let her teenage son hire a registered sex offender. Like, that just doesn't even, like, in what world does that even make sense? It's like that just, I mean, that's just not even rooted in reality. So, but yeah, it's just an unfortunate thing that happened. Not that this, I take accountability. Yes, if I could go back in time, I would tell teenage me, hey, you're supposed to do background checks. 19-year-old me, he stared at retention charts all day. He obsessed over YouTube videos. He didn't know anything about running a business. Like, I can't fully put myself in the mind of me 7 years ago, but I'm sure teenage me also thought, like, hey, Best Buy is worth tens of billions of dollars in a big corporation. Like, they also didn't do background checks. And, like, I probably thought, like, oh, I'm hiring from this big business. It's probably fine. You know what I mean? Or maybe I didn't put much thought into it because I was just making videos. But regardless, we do background checks now, and we do these things. I've been doing it for a long time, and it's just an unfortunate thing. But I just for context, though, just to give to a lot of people listening, like, or watching, I called after that stuff came out, too, because I was just curious. I called, like, I don't know the exact number, maybe, like, 24 YouTubers, and I asked them, like, do you guys do background checks? And I think, like, a dozen of those YouTubers have, like, more than 10 employees, and literally only 2 of the, like, 24 YouTubers I called do them. Like, 6 of them were like, I don't even know how to do a background check. You know what I mean? And they all had employees. So, like, I do, not that I'm not trying to deflect anything or whatever. I'm just trying to give context. Like, it's like, it is a little much to just think that 19-year-old me was just supposed to know that and have this knowledge. And it's unfortunate. And like I said,
yeah. And to be fair, I keep saying that you're the guy. Back then, you weren't the guy.
I was not the guy.
So that's
calling what I had back then a company would be generous.
Now, one good thing that I think Mrbeast did after his whole investigation is he basically set up a hotline for his employees to give anonymous tips for, like, bad behaviors other employees are engaging in. In my opinion, really great. Really great. That's a pretty great thing. You can't knock a hotline, even if you're like, well, if Mrbeast was the one setting up, how do you know he's not the one also in the room listening to the calls of which employees are calling in? It's like, my guy, like, you can only go but so far with your conspiracy theories. Every road can lead back to Rome at that point.
I think it was in the report. It's like we established an anonymous hotline because Quinn Emanuel was showing me data that, like, sometimes people don't feel comfortable talking to HR or their boss, and, like, if you have an anonymous hotline that goes to someone outside the company that can hear a complaint and then beam it into you without disclosing who it was, like, you'll get more honest feedback.
Also, Jimmy, Mrbeast, I know him on a first name basis, boys, went over his whole mom being HR, which obviously, let's all be honest here, that's pretty bad. That's really bad if your mom is HR. But also, again, this was back whenever it was literally like Mrbeast and some high school friends doing the channel, right? We're talking about literally 2018, 2017, 2019, back when Mrbeast was still on the rise. So again, I can let it slide. Growing pains of any and every business, boys. Growing pains of any and every business. Building a business isn't, all right, I have this idea, let me get a loan and make sure I get everything in order before I start up this business. It's usually, we're gonna have to skip a few corners, okay? And so obviously one of the corners that was skipped was getting a real HR that wasn't part of his family, seeing that if his mom kind of was decent at the job, I mean, like, obviously let the woman do the job while, he's still trying to build up this business.
Your mom was previously head of your HR department. And some people have criticized that as a conflict of interest. Did you personally, at the time, even consider that? Mm-hmm. And do you now also acknowledge that that is a conflict of interest?
Oh, I agree. That's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah.
I do think context matters, though, because, like, this is where a lot of these things that I assume we're going to talk about is, like, people conflate current Mrbeast with 400 employees and spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year with Mrbeast when he's a teenager and starting. I mean, when I first started hiring people, it was like, oh, we went to high school together. You want to help me make videos? And I hired a couple of my friends from high school. And then I was like, how do I do taxes and this kind of stuff? And I was like, Mom, help. And so, I mean, I wouldn't say she was head of HR. I mean, she was, I guess, but she's also running finance, and it's not like a real company. We just get in this like little 700 or no, actually that one was $1,080 a month office I was renting, and I'd just be like to this one guy that I knew from high school, all right, today you're gonna go paint this thing. Today, you, friend number 2, you're gonna like help me edit this, and you, friend number 3, you're gonna go to the store and buy 1,000 chickens that like scream when you press down on them. And mom, I don't know, just make sure the IRS doesn't sue me. Like that's the time frame we're talking about here.
So yeah, I can again let Mr. Beast slide on his mom being HR, because at the time he probably didn't have as much money, / was spending a lot of it on the videos that basically made him the world's biggest YouTuber. I understand that, boys, you gotta do everything by the law, by the books. As soon as you get $1, you gotta save at least 20% of it for tax purposes. But let's all be honest here. We all know the biggest businesses in America right now don't even do that. They always reinvest their money into either their shareholders, the people that actually run the company, or their business. Alright, they don't care about the employees 90% of the time. And the fact that Mr. Beast was like, yo, I'm hiring friends and giving them a living off of my YouTube channel while also hiring family and giving them a living off of my YouTube channel, that's amazing, right? That's an amazing thing. Again, it probably wasn't by the books, but also I can let it slide. It's like an 18, 19-year-old with his first business, right? Like, let's all be honest here. You have to be taught these things. We can all be like, well, when you turn 18, you need to learn the letter of the law. It's every law. You need to know if you go 2 miles above the speed limit, you should get arrested for it and get your license taken away. Right? We can all say that, but it's something that you learn over time through trial and error, right? Let's all not forget that trial and error is how some of the best things in the world are made. But again, he should have known the letter of the law, boys. Let's all be honest here. Mr. Beast is a disgusting human being at 18. Ripe old age of 18/19 for not knowing that maybe my mom shouldn't be head of HR and maybe I should spend a little bit of money on HR. But also, it was like 5 people. Mr. Beast probably already knows the people and they probably already talked to him at the time whenever they're, friends working on the channel. They weren't just random people, right? These are people that he actually has history with. So a lot of those people probably weren't scared of actually losing their job by saying the wrong thing, because they probably have told this man the wrong thing plenty of times and Mr. Beast probably never flipped out on them. Unlike a random employee that doesn't know Mr. Beast, that's just like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to, make the man mad or not. Because honestly, whenever you, get hired for a job, you don't know the person, right? You don't know your employer. For the most part, you don't. And, I even can sympathize with Mr. Beast on, growing the whole business still, because, I'm trying to take my channel a little bit more seriously. And, right now, boys, I'm trying to get a couple artists and get a couple people to help me with these videos, because, trying to scale this thing up is not easy to do alone, especially whenever you have a full-time job on top of doing YouTube. So while we're still on the whole HR side of things, we might as well go over the no does not mean no part in his little manual about how to be a great Mr. Beast employee. Now, everyone was taking the no does not mean no thing way out of context, alright? Because Mr. Beast put it in context, which he was just trying to say, hey, if we want to make this cool video and we tell you to call X place or whatever, and they're just like, no, we can't do that, and you don't ask why, which is the whole point of him saying no does not mean no, because if you don't ask why, then the people won't tell you. That's the whole point of it. The whole point is just ask. If they say, no, we can't do that, ask why. And then ask, hey man, can we help you with, figuring out how we can do that? That's the whole thing behind no means no. It wasn't just, no, if you want to touch a woman inappropriately, you're allowed to do it here at Mr. Beast. It's obviously a ridiculous statement whenever you think about it in context. But obviously, the people like Dogpack404 and other YouTubers that were supposed to be giving us the context decided, no, we're just going to talk about how no means no, and that's the only thing we're going to talk about. Instead of, giving us the whole context of, oh, Mr. Beast means don't accept just the first no as no. Just keep asking and asking like, hey, how can we make this possible? What can we do to help you make this possible?
The no doesn't mean no policy that was
yeah.
criticized. That was crazy. I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, you're answering for me. Let me answer.
Hold on. It was criticized, especially by Soggy recently, of having been taken out of context. Can you explain what the no doesn't mean no policy was and why it was in the...
Yes. So, yeah. So it's funny, even the word like policy, it's like, so when we started hiring more people, I wrote this little, I almost like advice book just for a lot of employees because I wasn't able to talk with people as much as I was early on. And one part of it that people, when this thing got leaked, and I wrote it with some other people in my company, it wasn't just me, but when this got leaked, there's a section that said no does not mean no, and then they just like cropped that out, and they're like, look, this is proof Jimmy's immoral and evil, when obviously, like you were saying, if you read the context below, it makes sense. The gist of why we had a section that said no does not mean no is because we do, I don't know if anyone's ever seen our videos, crazy things that have never been done before, right? No one's ever, on YouTube at least, buried themselves alive for 7 days. No one like tries to dangle an obstacle course from cranes. And it's like, the problem I kept running into early on when I was hiring people is I'd be like, hey, I want to do this. And then they would go call someone. So like, let's say the obstacle course in the sky, where we had like these obstacle courses that Mac did, held up by these cranes, weighed like 100,000 pounds or whatever. Like they would call crane companies and they'd be like, no. And then they'd be like, okay, hang up. And they'd come to me and they'd go, Jimmy, they said, no, we can't do it. The video's not possible. And it's like, okay, well, of course they're going to say no because everything we do has never been done before. But like, ask them why. And like, obviously, if they don't be rude, but if they say no, just try to understand why, right? And a lot of times you'll have an instance where like, well, we can't get all the cranes at one time because we're renting them out. And it's like, okay, perfect. We respect that. But can I offer something before you actually hard say no? What if we went to the 2 or 3 other clients that day that were renting the cranes? We paid them 5 times the amount of money they paid to rent those cranes to just, rent them a week later. And let's just see. And then the company would usually be like, oh, you would do that? It's like, yeah, like we want to work with you to find a solution to make your problem our problem and solve it. And then then a hard no will 50% of the time turn into, oh, well, yeah, actually we can do it if you're willing to spend a little extra money or whatever. So that was me trying to educate my employees on that. And somehow, well, I don't know, I'm not even going to say somehow, I know how. I mean, people who didn't care about the truth and just, wanted to spread disinformation and manipulate and lie to millions of people, which it worked, spun that into, I'm not even going to state the obvious, but which made no sense because the context for it was literally written right below it. But that just shows the ill will intent of certain people.
Yeah, because no doesn't mean no. That is like, there's just a massive, heavy negative connotation with that, obviously.
So while we're still on this topic of Mrbeast going on about people taking things out of context, he's basically talking about Dogpack. He's going to be talking about Dogpack here soon because if you guys don't know, I'm just jumping back and forth throughout the interview because for some reason, Caleb couldn't just allow this man to go on about one topic, all right? Oompaville allowed this man to talk for like 10 seconds, interjects, and then throws out another question. And then they come back to the question like 8 hours later. There's like no timeline to this thing, all right? So I'm trying to put this into context and into a nice, decent timeline for you boys. But we're going to talk about Dogpack now, all right? Mrbeast starts to get pretty emotional over Dogpack. Like, he does not like this man at all. It's pretty clear whenever Dogpack is, brought up in this interview, Mrbeast kind of has a disdain for him, and rightfully so. Boys, I know in this video I sound like a glazer right now. I'm sounding like I do them tricks on this motherfucker. But you know what? I am. Because I can feel for him whenever there's some guy spreading lies about you. I can feel for that. I can 100% feel for that. What do you want me to be like? No, he should not feel mad about someone spreading lies about him. He should be happy, elated that someone's spreading lies. Like, no. Obviously, he's going to be mad at someone spreading lies about him. Actually, a former employee of his that got fired because they did a bad job. And that is literally trying to take down the company because they did a bad job and they got fired. That's the whole reason why Dogpack's videos exist. Let's all be honest here. We already talked about that in the last video. We can, just skip over that. And I was also critical about Mrbeast in the last video, by the way. But we're going to skip to the Dogpack part, right? Where Mrbeast is basically talking about how, yeah, he's going to sue Dogpack. He doesn't know if he wants to sue him one time or multiple times. He's like, hey, brother, I can sue this man about to have 3 damn times and win all 3 cases. But he does know that he wants to sue Dogpack, and he's getting everything together to sue Dogpack.
Are you going to sue Dogpack?
Well, there's tons of examples of him intentionally manipulating things to not be true and posting it online. Tons and tons and tons of that. Soggy has basically an hour and 27-minute video, and an hour of it is just flat out proving manipulation and lies, and caused a lot of harm to my businesses. I've literally had people pull out millions of dollars and then tell me it was directly because of his video. And don't worry, I instantly was like, can you send that in writing? So, if I win a case or anything, I can directly point damages. No reason why. And so, I mean, it's just unfortunate. Like, I don't want to be put in this situation, but probably going to have to. I mean, it's just, I mean, what do you do if someone's just spreading misinformation about you and, just causing harm to your business and like getting it to the point where you might have to potentially fire people because it's costing you so much revenue? It's like, it's not fair to the people in my companies. You know what I mean? It's just sad, it's not a thing I take joy in, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so yes.
They're not done drafting it up, but once they're done, more than likely, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
I
that's
mean, every law firm I've talked to, they're like, this would be the easiest win they've ever seen in their life. I mean, it's like crazy. I had one tell me like you could chop up all the evidence into like sue 3 separate times and win all 3 cases because you'd have enough for each. Like one person I was talking to, he's won like 67 out of his last 70 cases, and he's like, this would be literally the easiest case I've ever done. Like it's because there's just so much blatant, misinformation and lies spread. Like, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, just go watch Sagi's video. Go look at his Twitter where he's redacted multiple ones of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be in this position.
Now, in my opinion, all right, I think we should have got a hard-hitting question, right? I understand that Oompaville wanted to stick on the topic of just Mrbeast questions, and also Mrbeast wants to stick on the topic of just Mrbeast questions. But I would have 100% asked Mrbeast, what are your thoughts on Logan Paul suing CoffeeZilla because CoffeeZilla basically exposed Logan Paul for being a scammer, right? I mean, like, this is not just a one-time thing. This man has, I think, some kind of disorder at this point, because for some reason, Logan Paul is very, very into doing scams. Like, this is not oh, oops, I did a scam. Hey, boys, I'm sorry. I religiously do. This is part of my business strategy. I scam people, part of my business strategy. Like, we can all say this man does scams. We don't have to do no ifs, ands, or buts about it. CoffeeZilla has literally made several videos exposing this man's scams. And literally, this man went from, I'm not scamming, to I am scamming, and I'm sorry, to I'm not scamming. Like, this man can't even, like, put on a bold face and say, I'm not a scammer. Because every time he does, he has to, like, that crypto zoo. I don't want to talk about that crypto zoo. I don't want to talk about that other thing. Right? This man avoids talking about many of his scams because he knows he has nothing to say. Because he's going to be like, yeah, it was a scam. It was a scam. I made a couple $1 million off of this scam. I mean, like, Caleb closely referenced, Logan Paul suing him, but he didn't say Logan Paul's name. He basically just said, oh, CoffeeZilla is getting sued. And it's like, by who? By whose business partner is CoffeeZilla getting sued by? Question mark.
The suing, the silencing critics, for example, something very similar has happened. Well, not that similar, but something is happening to CoffeeZilla, who we'll talk about here in a minute as well. He's being sued. Literally
right there would have been a perfect time for him to interject hey, also, one more question. How do you feel about your business partner suing CoffeeZilla for making a video on him saying that he is a scammer and showing proof of him being a scammer? That would have been the perfect place. I want to know how Mrbeast feels about his business partners being scummy pieces of shit. I would like that. I would like that information. Just because Mrbeast is a good person doesn't mean his people that are around him that also are making him money are good people. Like, I want to know, how does he feel that he has to do business or that he is doing business with scummy people? But obviously, as Oompaville said earlier in the video, he's not a hard-hitting journalist, all right? The man is a big softball. I know 100% if Mutahar or maybe even more Pegasus had the chance, they 100% would ask him about that. And I want to know, how does Mrbeast feel about a scummy business partner doing this? Now, they do talk about CoffeeZilla in this and, Mrbeast crypto schemes, I guess. And Mrbeast basically just hand waves the whole thing saying, I'm too dumb and I never made any trades. I allowed a firm to make those trades. And it's like, all right, we can believe that, but my guy, the firm still scammed people with your money. I'm like, is that supposed to be a good thing? Like, why what happened there? And of course, instead of Oompaville pushing back like, well, can you name this firm so we can at least say these are the scammers so we can get people's money back? Are you willing to give people their money back? Instead of him doing any of that, Oompaville's just like, all right, yeah, you're dumb. Okay, you're too dumb to think about crypto. Moving on.
CoffeeZilla, one of my favorite YouTubers. There was a comprehensive report published that painted a negative light on crypto dealings allegedly associated with you. To what extent were you involved in these crypto transactions, and how do you respond to CoffeeZilla's video on you detailing these allegations? I thought he gave you a benefit of the doubt in that video.
Yeah.
I think he's a very reasonable guy, to be honest. I think he's a very smart, reasonable guy who cares about like doing the right thing, which is pretty rare on YouTube. You know, how would you respond to Coffee's video?
Yeah, Coffee's video and the report. Well, so I'll start off with the report. I mean, most people probably haven't even read it, but that's what kind of spawned that whole thing was this. Did you see it? Like that? Yeah. So the gist of this crypto report that was, 1 second, sorry, it's not my. The gist of this report was, Jimmy is too stupid to like make this kind of money, therefore it must be insider trading. This is his wallet. You know, clearly there was insider trading because he never would have been able to make this kind of money. When in reality, which is what I told Coffee in that statement we gave him, it was managed by a fund. So I wasn't the one managing the wallet. You know, I've never had access to that wallet. I've never done the buying and selling on that wallet. There's a actual professional who's written books on crypto and lived and breathes crypto every second of the day managing it. So most of the allegations there like are just answered by like, I am too stupid to do that. That's why a fund was managing it. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, like Coffee said, like if he literally said this in a video. If you like Jimmy, then you're like, yeah, he has answers for everything and just checks out. And if you don't like Jimmy, then you're going to go, you know, there's obviously wrongdoing here. But yeah, I mean, the honest truth is like, I make videos, I'm running 7 businesses, I got a lot going on. And yeah, I invested in a crypto fund. They invested on my behalf, and I've never like had access to that wallet. They're the one doing the buying and selling. I mean, there are thousands of transactions on there. Like, I don't even have that kind of time. I'm sure you could probably even look at it and see like days where I was like maybe in solitary confinement or like doing a video where I didn't even have access to a computer and there's trading.
True.
So for the conspiracy theorists that think I'm lying and using the fund as a cover up, like, I mean, there's got to be some way where you could just figure that out, like, or I was on a plane ride or something. But yeah, that's like the honest transparency is, you know, I was in a crypto fund and people thought I owned the wallet.
So after that, Mrbeast basically on a call, because after this they did a call going over some more questions. After that, Mrbeast essentially just, you know, reiterated that a fund was taking over this whole entire crypto operation for him. Because I'm assuming whenever Oompaville went back and, you know, looked over the footage, it was like, there's some discrepancies here, because Mrbeast has talked about him buying CryptoPunks, but Mrbeast again was just like, I didn't buy them per se myself. I allowed the fund to buy it with my money to see if it's a good investment. And he keeps reiterating that he doesn't have access to the crypto wallet, which I'm just sitting here like, if you don't have access to it, then what's the point of putting your money into it? What? I would assume you would want the money out of it. Like that, my whole thing is, I'm just sitting here like, if you don't have access to the wallet, then why are you just pouring your money into it? That makes absolutely no sense at all. Like, obviously you would want to bring money out of it for any of your business ventures or for, you know, self-gain. Like, it doesn't make sense for this man to keep putting money into a crypto wallet just for it to be like a black void of money. It's just like, it's just there. It exists. I can't touch it or anything, but it's there.
You have said that you do not control the Wu-Tang wallet. You said that last night. You said that a friend did it. You said you didn't know what Wu-Tang was.
A fund did it, yes, not a friend.
Right. Okay, a fund. Okay. On a podcast with Logan Paul about CryptoPunks, you talk about a call you had with Mr. Gary, where you claim to have bought and or sold CryptoPunks, but then later decided to roll the money into VFriends. And this is all like video, obviously. And this trading activity all happened within the Wu-Tang wallet, which we talked about last night.
Yes.
So if it was your decision, you know, if semantically, if what you're talking about on the podcast, if it was your decision, your trading decision to buy and sell the punks or VFriends, even though you didn't press the buttons, was it actually your decision? Did you press the button? Did you not press the button? Was it your decision? And if it was your decision, and even if you didn't press the button, it still, to me, would mean that you had control of those trading decisions.
Yeah, these are good questions. Actually, I'm glad we're doing this follow-up thing so we can also just put all this stuff out there. So, yeah, I did say that in the podcast, and I obviously did not press the buttons like I've been saying. I didn't pick what punks to buy or anything. Gary Vee, like I said on that podcast, called me and a bunch of other people, said crypto punks are the next big thing. I thought it was pretty crazy. But, you know, the first thing I did right after that is just called the guy in charge of the fund who invested my money and it's other people's money as well, and just said, hey, Gary Vee seemed very passionate about these punks. You should look into it. If it makes sense, buy it. And so, you know, he did the research, picked what punks to buy, bought them. I don't even truthfully know how to buy punks. I've never bought one, like me personally.
Okay.
Like I've said, I don't have access to that wallet. So, I mean, in other transparency, like that's kind of high level how it went. But, you know, if he was like, oh, this is a shit investment, then he wouldn't have bought them. So he was the one who was doing the buying and selling and managing things.
Okay. But you did make some decisions to buy or sell in the Wu-Tang Fund.
Well, I mean, yeah, I just told him like, hey, Gary, like in transparency, Gary called me about CryptoPunks and said they were cool. Look into it. I mean, so at the end of the day, bro, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know which punks to buy or which ones we should buy if it's a good investment. Like, that's why I, put the money in a fund and had professionals managing it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, they're stupid as shit. I don't like any of the NFT stuff. I'm glad that's all kind of come and gone now.
So yeah, that goes on for like another 10 minutes where basically he just says the same exact thing of, I don't have access to the crypto fund. Next tweet, yo, you said something about this crypto. What is your thoughts, Mrbeast? I told the fund to look into it. I don't have access to the crypto fund. It just went off like that for another 10 minutes. So continuing on with, the dog pack part of this video, or the dog pack sections of this video, they talk about how dog pack essentially tries to paint Mrbeast in an antichrist light, which in my opinion is kind of hypocritical of Oompaville being able to get this interview, seeing that Oompaville 100% was part of spreading that, because he's the one that interviewed Dogpack, and he was like, maybe YouTubers are, maybe Mrbeast is the Antichrist, who knows? It's like, you didn't even push back on that whenever Dogpack was on your channel. Like, I don't understand how Oompaville got this interview, especially after that terrible, I made a video on a terrible Dogpack video that he put out, trying his best to quote-unquote interview Dogpack, just allowing Dogpack to continue spreading lies with no pushback at all from Caleb.
Dogpack actually cut a part out of his first video about you being the Antichrist. Did you see that?
I did.
What'd you think of that? I mean, you did get here a little fast, to be honest. You teleported.
The sad part is he was being serious in it. And,
yeah, he cut that part out.
And that he showed that part publicly, and people still were like, okay, well, Kim's saying Jimmy's the Antichrist because one of his studios was a church, because there's not many warehouses in North Carolina, so I just bought a church and converted it into a warehouse. And like, he unironically was claiming I was the Antichrist in the same video as all these other accusations, but everyone's like, oh, that's the only crazy accusation. Everything else is true. Mm-hmm. When I saw that, I was like, okay, now people are gonna like be like, okay, maybe he's just, but didn't change anything.
I mean, yeah, does it like bother you? Did that bother you specifically, or is it just, I mean, because like, how do you even,
I'm not the Antichrist. I mean, where's the Bible? Yeah, I'm not the Antichrist. There you go.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I kind of thought you might be. It is a weird one, because I've heard people say that in my real life. They're like, his name is, we live out here in the sticks.
Yeah.
All right. And they're like, his name is Beast. It's got the 6,000. That's a 6. Like, people, I think that's very funny, to be honest, and in like an ironic way. I don't actually obviously believe that you are the Antichrist.
I'll be honest, I don't even know what that means. The Antichrist. I see those like conspiracy theories occasionally, and
yeah.
I don't even, if I was just like, I tweeted, yes, I'm the Antichrist. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah.
And for some context, here's the clip of basically Dogpack404 calling Mrbeast the Antichrist with literally no proof. I don't know where you would even get the proof to call someone Antichrist. I'm gonna be honest here. I don't know where you would get the proof for it, other than just saying that man's the devil. He does the devil. He's a successful white man. He's doing the devil's work.
Okay, now I personally don't subscribe to any religion. I think there's wisdom in many religious texts. I don't take them literally, but to each their own. The only reason I'm talking about this theory that, Mr. Beast is the Antichrist or whatever, is because it's so popular that multiple people, Mr. Beast works in the Bible Belt, and multiple people at Mr. Beast talked to me about this theory as if they legitimately believe there is a chance that Mr. Beast is the Antichrist. And as I talk about this, keep in mind with religious texts, there's many different translations and interpretations. Okay, I just watched like one video and read the Wikipedia article on the book of Revelation. I'm just gonna present the evidence that Mr. Beast is the Antichrist as I see it. And it's quite baffling, to be honest. So the book of Revelation is the final part in the Christian Bible. It is a prophecy describing how the world will end. It describes two beasts. First, the beast from the sea, who is the Antichrist, and the second beast from the earth, which is the false prophet. The theory is actually that Mr. Beast is the second beast, by the way. This second beast performed great miracles. It made fire come down out of heaven to earth in the sight of everyone. And it deceived all of the people living on earth by means of the miracles which it was allowed to perform in the presence of the first beast. So this second beast is a false prophet performing great miracles as a means of distraction to get people to worship him. When Mr. Beast first started seeing success on YouTube, he bought a church.
Where the heck are we? And what do you film here?
Yeah, so to be specific, you're in a church. So when I first started, there's just no warehouses or studios in Greenville, North Carolina. Yeah. So there are a lot of churches, though. We're in the Bible Belt. Yeah. So I bought a church, and then we converted it by just basically taking all the pews out and just converted it into a studio.
Literally removing imagery of Jesus and replacing it with the mark of the beast. Mr. Beast also died and then rose on the third day. Mr. Beast has performed great miracles. And Mr. Beast teaches children to worship money, which the Bible clearly describes as the root of all evil. In the Bible, Christ also warns, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. Now, the main function of this second beast or false prophet is to get the world to worship the first beast. He is not the Antichrist. He is the spokesperson for the Antichrist. And the false prophet also causes people to get the mark of the beast, which is a mark literally placed on the forehead or the wrist of an individual. The Bible describes that without this mark, people will not be able to buy or sell. But getting this mark is considered an unforgivable sin. So if Mr. Beast is the second beast, who is the first? And what is this mark? Well, some Christians speculate that the mark of the beast will be a medically implanted computer chip, similar to a Neuralink, something that Mr. Beast has expressed great interest in.
The Neuralink actually works, and you can symbiosis with technology and just download things to your brain. You'll be able to make so much money that it doesn't matter how much the procedure will cost. So I think the first few would probably go for an absurd amount of money, right? Because even if you had $0, you could just hypothetically borrow $100,000, get it, because once you have infinite bandwidth to unlimited knowledge, you could make unlimited money.
Money! I think he's just making people less human.
Probably.
For sure.
Probably.
For sure.
Probably.
For sure. He's making people less human.
Probably.
Mr. Beast has been a spokesperson for Elon Musk on many occasions, but he's also been a spokesperson for Steve Jobs and PewDiePie and Mark Rober, the mark of the beast. Obviously, this is all up to your interpretation. Personally, what makes the most sense to me is that the Antichrist would not be a person, but a company. The company of YouTube. Or Google. I mean, Google did drop their strange motto of don't be evil. And Mr. Beast has dedicated his life to promoting YouTube. He's inexplicably motivated to do so. Again, this is sick lore. Personally, I don't believe any of it literally, except for the fact that I do believe YouTube will cause the death of humanity.
So yeah, that man went on that whole rant, and then at the end was like, I don't believe it. He went on that whole rant just to be like, there's no reason for this to be in my video at all. This is all just conspiracy theory. Yeah, he went on a 4-minute rant just for him at the end to be like, just saying this is a conspiracy theory, but if you do believe in God and Jesus, this is a pretty great conspiracy theory, right, boys? Right? You guys should believe me, another false prophet, Like, what is this man going on about? This right here is a pretty slanderous statement because 31% of people in the world, so a good chunk out of 8 billion people, are Christians. So if you say Mr. Beast is the Antichrist, and then you try to back it up with, biblical texts and stuff, and, trying your best to, like, shoehorn the red string down to the goddamn pinhole, yeah, a good chunk of those people will believe maybe Mr. Beast is the Antichrist, right? This is just a conspiracy theory, right? There's no actual evidence of Mr. Beast even having the mark of the beast, right? This is a guy who made his channel back whenever he was like 10 or 12, and he was just like, yo, I think Mr. Beast is a cool name. And now you have some random rogue employee or ex-employee calling him the Antichrist, basically slandering him to 31% of the population of the earth. So moving on to the Jake Weddle part of the video, Dog Pack's, I guess, Robin at this point, if Dog Pack's Batman. In the Mr. Beast lore universe. Moving on to the Jake Weddle part, basically Mr. Beast was saying, hey man, we did a challenge. We did this same challenge with several different people. Everyone experienced the challenge differently. Some people didn't care about the lights being on. Some people did. Jake Weddle, he cared about it. And instead of him just, toughing it out, he decided he wanted to quit. We allowed him to quit. We paid him out $110,000 for him literally doing 10 days of work. I'm just sitting here like, brother, $110,000, brother, what are you complaining about? You got your money's worth, all right? I'm just sitting here like, hey man, you was able to quit a challenge after 10 days and got $110,000. I think we all can agree I would have did that challenge. Also, I'm trying my best to speed up the end of this video, boys, because it is getting quite long and I'm trying to upload this by the end of the day. But yeah, essentially, there's no reason for me to put up the clip because it's exactly like that. Exactly what he said for like 4 or 5 minutes straight. He just did a challenge. Jake Weddle had a negative reaction to the challenge, and that was it. They allowed him to go home with, the prize money. So next up is the Mrbeast game show, alright? Basically, Mrbeast is running this big game show for Amazon, and essentially they had a ton of contestants, and obviously with a ton of contestants comes with a ton of problems, right? Not everything is going to be hammered down in any game show. So obviously Mrbeast has had some controversies which were real during the Mrbeast game show, and then there was some fabricated ones that he talks about within it. Obviously, not in the Mrbeast game show, neither is Caleb in the Mrbeast game show, so we can't really say if X, Y, and Z thing actually or did not actually happen. But Mrbeast basically goes on to say, hey man, some of the things were real, right? Because like there were some women out there that were allergic to the feminine hygiene products like tampons and stuff that they couldn't use, and they didn't get them anything in time. And then there were some other things that didn't happen, like people breaking bones and stuff and them not using unions to film the show, right?
In regard to the Beast Game show on Amazon. Yeah. What is the litigation that found against you?
You know how litigation is. Obviously, yeah. I'm not allowed to talk about it, which is a little... There's a lot of things I want to say here. So this is good. Trying to think specifically on the lawsuit that... so for context, so people have 5 anonymous Beast Game employees, or not employees, 5 anonymous Beast Game contestants submitted a lawsuit, and they sent it to the press, but conveniently all the actual claims are redacted, blacked out, so you can't actually see it. And I'm not allowed to disclose what's behind those black lines, but Beast Games, we had 1,000 people, we were doing big stuff, and just like with my normal videos, I'm not trying to say everything went great, one thing that happened when we were filming one part of Beast Games is, you remember CrowdStrike? That was pretty brutal. We had the most contestants of any game show in history together. That was weirdly, God hates me, during the CrowdStrike accident. And so as we're eliminating hundreds of people and trying to get them home, airports all across America are down, hotel room keys aren't working, and that created a lot of confusion, and that caused a lot of problems in our systems, and that was pretty brutal. And I'm not trying to just disavow everything, you know what I mean? There was one woman who when we were filming, we had obviously tons of feminine care products and stuff like that, but there was one woman who was allergic to the feminine care products, and we didn't have allergen-free ones like tampons and pads, and she told someone, I don't know who she told, I haven't been able to find it, but I believe that she did, that she was allergic, and they didn't obviously do the logical thing, which is tell us or just drive to the local Walmart and buy some and give it to her. And so she wasn't able to get, feminine care products in a reasonable amount of time, which is unacceptable. And so I learned a lot of little things like that, but I think in general, a lot of it has just been blown out of proportion. Like people have claimed like we didn't use unions because I didn't want to pay people fair money, when that was just a flat out lie. We did use unions, and like that there are dozens of broken bones, and which is like crazy to think that I'd be like, oh, 10 people broke their bones, let's keep filming, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't even make sense. After like that claim came out, like we literally called 1,950 contestants of the 2,000. We couldn't get a hold of all 2,000. I couldn't find a single broken bone. Yeah, online it's being claimed there's dozens. I mean, there's so much or even disinformation like that being spread. So like, which makes it hard for me to just come out and like talk about things like the pad thing and other things where, we did mess up on little things, and there are definitely things we could have done better. But then there's just like, it's mixed in with like all these crazy outrageous claims, and it's like just so.
What about you not paying people?
I mean, we did, but yeah, that's something people like to leave out. We gave everyone who showed up. You could literally show up and then a second later leave and receive $2,000, which with 2,000 contestants, that's $4 million.
Yeah.
And we told everyone they were gonna get $0. This is something like, this is the damned if you do, damned if you don't. So we told everyone, no guaranteed money if you show up. I'm glad you asked this. No guaranteed money if you show up. Like you could walk away with $0. But then I wanted to surprise everyone. Gave them each $2,000, $4 million, which it's a lot of money. I could have gone and just bought a mansion instead of doing that. But what's even crazier is then people tried to, not like the contestants, but the internet and their theories, tried to frame that as hush money. Like I gave them all $2,000 to like make them happy because we didn't tell them beforehand, like to surprise them as they got eliminated. And then people are like, you just did that because of hush money. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I also didn't give them like legal paperwork tied with it. Like that says it was just like completely baseless. It just shows like how crazy people go with the conspiracy theories and everything like that. But no, we did pay everyone $2,000. And on top of that, we gave away more money than any competition show in history. I mean, we had the largest cash prize in history on top of millions upon millions upon. Like throughout the show, we literally give away like 8 figures, tens of millions of dollars. So it's like, I do all this, and normal competition shows don't even pay anyone except for the grand prize. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just, once again, it's like funny because people actually compared it to reality. It's just not even in the same stratosphere.
So the last and final thing that we obviously care about in this, boys, I've saved you guys so much time. Just saying, this video being an hour long, I've already saved you guys so much time from actually watching the 2 hour and 30 something minute video, because that man fluffed out like an hour 30 worth of footage. But boys, the last thing that we actually care about is literally the Ava Tyson situation with the Shadman poster up in their house, right? So Mrbeast, love him or hate him, he basically says, I didn't know who Shadman was, and plus the person that was, or I guess the character in the poster was clothed, so he just thought, oh, it was just a weird meme that Ava Tyson put up in the room, and he didn't know that, oh, it was, a lolly art, because the picture was literally just of the character with the fidget spinner and a gun. That was literally it, and they were fully clothed. So obviously Mrbeast, not being a full-time gooner, because he was a full-time YouTuber at that point, he was just like, all right, whatever, just weird art, who cares? Because he was just like, I don't care, it's just up in the house, who cares? And plus it was literally just them, which we can all say actually at that he should know what's going on in the house at all times. It is his house, but also at the end of the day, brother, are you gonna go through like your friends like watch history and really care, right? If you all watch anime, you're gonna be like, oh, it's just some obscure anime. All right, cool, who cares? Right, so I can literally see that if you want to go by the way of saying he should know exactly who Shadman is at any and every time, I guess it's damned if he doesn't know who Shadman is, damned if he does. So at the end of the day, it was just, again, another mistake. I don't know what else to say. You make mistakes throughout your life, brother. And you make a ton of them, especially whenever you're young. But at the end of the day, should he have known? No. Because at the end unless you're like an actual coomer, you probably didn't know who Shadman was. But also, he probably should have at least asked, I guess, who Shadman was and what that poster was. I guess he should have at least asked. But I'm like, if your whole job is filming YouTube videos all day and then trying to come home to go to sleep, I guess I can see why the man wouldn't, care all that much. It was just a random poster in the house. It wasn't like Ava Tyson was bringing back kids to the damn house. He was like, oh yeah, you like the poster? Yeah, you like the poster, right? I guess, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Then that's what Mr. Beast was also saying. He's like, I didn't know who that person was. It was just a random poster in the house. So I'm like, this is up to your own interpretation. Do you believe Mr. Beast and him saying he doesn't know who Shadman is, or do you think Mr. Beast is hiding the truth?
A thing that a lot of people care about is Shadman's a fucking freak and is a disgusting person. Did you know about the painting in? Did you know about that? Have you ever interacted with Shadman before? Like, what is your relation to that, and specifically that relationship between Shadman and Ava Tyson and you?
Yeah, no, that's actually a good follow-up question. So this is what it was like. I don't remember 7, 8 years ago. Back then, I used to have like a bunch of anime posters up on the wall. I'm just like set a foundation for context. We used to have a bunch of anime posters and things like that on our wall in the house. And one day, Ava put up this poster that was like an animated character holding a fidget spinner and a gun. Admittedly, it was a weird image. I didn't know who made it. You know, I just kind of assumed it was a meme. I obviously did not know who Shadman was. I've never spoken with Shadman. I did not buy the poster or commission it or anything. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really think too much of it because we just had like a lot of anime posters and things up, and it was an animated character that was clothed, obviously. And yeah, knowing what I know about Shadman now, is a very weird thing to buy. I'm not really sure why she bought it, to be frank. And yeah, I mean, I wish I could give more details. I mean, this was so long ago. Obviously, I don't know the like exact thoughts going through my head, but I just remember, like, I agree, it is a little bit of a weird poster. But I also think, like, you know, I had like Naruto posters up, or I had like Code Geass posters, like random animes I used to watch, and like, you know, I never like reversed image search and Googled, oh, who made this Code Geass anime poster that's sitting on the wall or whatever. I don't, you know, I don't. Your first instincts when you just see a poster is not to just go, who made that, and deep dive them. So
Yeah, are they a pedophile? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I agree. It's her buying it is very weird, and I obviously, if I had known what I know now, I would have been like, what the actual fuck?
So yeah, boys, there's the answer to your burning question of why was that poster up in Mr. Beast's house with his roommate in there? It was Mr. Beast didn't know who the artist was and what the art was of. Again, you can interpret that in any way. You can just say, well, he's lying. Or you can say, I believe him. And I'm like, yeah, again, you can't say either way. I'm like, there's no actual truth. Like, this is actually Mr. Beast sucking off Shadman in this picture. And then in this picture, he was purchasing it with his actual debit card, right? We don't have that. So yeah, boys, that's the Oompaville interview with Mr. Beast and Mr. Beast's response to everything. I'm pretty sure that's going to be his only response to everything. I don't think we're going to be getting another one of these because Caleb really hit him with the pillow hands. Caleb, oh my God, he needs to get Mudar in there next time. He needs to get someone else because he is too soft when it comes down to these interviews. But boys, other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, and also check out this video on Mr. Beast as well. Forgot to tell you guys that. Check out the other Beast video that I just uploaded today. But other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.